Good morning. This is Bill from Out of Europa, Naples, on a surprisingly mild Florida Friday. I have to say, it could be a lot worse. It's not what I would call without humidity, but it's definitely less humidity than usual. I'm not dripping just walking around outside. And believe me, this time of the year, I'll take it. That's about as good as it gets. The birds have been leaving us alone. We got one little scout up there on the wire. The chickens, the roosters, haven't heard from them in a while. In fact, there's construction on that section of road over there. I'm only hoping that a steamroller took them out, and there's a bunch of chicken and rooster pizzas in the middle of the road, but one could only dream. And otherwise, everything's going fairly much according to plan. I'm going to try to make a less angry review today than I did when I did that little toaster the other day. It was just a sort of a conflagration of, too much anger, too much whiskey therapy, an electric car, which I hate, and some other stuff. So again, apologies for the anger on that one. I will do what I can to tone it down, which won't happen, but I'll try anyway. Today I have this. What do I have? I have this Land Cruiser. Now, this is an interesting vehicle. It's by Toyota, of course. It is a flagrant copy of the American Jeep. Japan, their armed forces during World War II had captured one of the Jeeps, and there's some debate as to whether it was a Bantam or a Willys or a Ford, but it really doesn't matter. And they took that thing and they just reverse engineered it to make the precursor to this FJ. I want to say it was either the BJ or Cat 10 or something like that. Doesn't really matter. But they reverse engineered an American Jeep to start building these. And it worked out very, very well for them. This was done by, of course, Toyota, which was started by a guy named Kiichiro Toyota, who was the son of a Japanese fellow who was called the Japanese Thomas Edison. He was part of Toyota Loom Company. Toyota with a D at the end, by the way, or almost at the end. And he really wanted to build cars, his son. And in his dying days, his dad said, yes, go do it. Go chase your dreams. Well, the brother was running the company at that time, so Kiichiro had to lobby him to get permission, which he did. He started building cars in Japan. They were doing okay, but not great, but good enough. And then, of course, when the Imperial Army captured an American Jeep and wanted it to be re-engineered, they did hire Toyota to do that. And in the 40s, Toyota did come up with the Land Cruiser, although that wasn't the name at the time. Again, the BJ series. Yeah, that's very ironic coming from Japanese culture. What the hell is it with the pixelization anyway? Somebody really needs to explain that to me. Anyway, so they made this Jeep copy. They did it in a way that made it even more rugged and industrial than the American Jeep. I mean, it has to be said. They just went overboard on this thing. And when they tested it, it went to the 6th level, the 6th checkpoint on Mount Fuji, which created quite a stir. No vehicle had ever done that before. And in fact, it did it without a low range. It was just the incredible torque of the engine that they copied from General Motors, that big 6-cylinder, that was able to guide it up. So all of a sudden, the police were interested. They ordered a bunch. The military ordered a bunch. And Toyota had something going. After the war, they started, they continued to build them, send them out, but they weren't doing that great. I mean, there wasn't a high demand for Japanese products immediately in the wake of World War II. So in 1952, poor Kiichiro, who, was now presiding over, you won't call it a failing company, but it was a struggling company, he died never really seeing his dreams fully realized. If he knew what Toyota had gone on to be, it would have been pretty nice for him, but the poor bastard assumed room temperature before it happened. Anyway, so they started building these Jeeps, and they became a staple of... they sent a lot of them to America, but they went all over the world. They went to Brazil, they went to Saudi Arabia, they went to Africa, they went to all of these places where they were incredibly appreciated for their durability, their longevity, their unparalleled reliability. And it established the Toyota name as a builder of fine products. Again, I don't know if I mentioned it, but Toyota had a D at the end. The second T was a D in their name, and they famously changed it to Toyota Toyota for good luck, and apparently it was easier to write in Japanese script. So, but anyway, so this thing was a real emissary, a diplomat for Toyota, and paved the way for their car line that would, gain popularity afterwards. And this thing is long, every Toyota four-wheel drive, long the choice of insurgent and terrorist groups all over the world. They can, take their mind off of mechanical problems and put it onto usurping the throne or taking out buildings or, mounting 50 cows in the back, whatever else they want to do to pass the time. And out came this Toyota, and it really just started selling. They made American versions. They started building them in Brazil, although with Mercedes engines, and around it went all over the world. The first time I think I was introduced to it was watching National Geographic stuff as a kid. If you remember Marlin Perkins as well, Mutual of Omaha, Wild Kingdom, hanging out the side of a helicopter shooting animals with dart guns. Very often you'd see one of these Land Cruisers on the ground chasing the rhino or, doing whatever it needed to do to get through and, get the good shot. They called it the Land Cruiser in what is another flagrant copy of Land Rover. I mean, could not these people have come up with an original idea, for God's sake? But I guess if you're going to copy something, at least make it damn good. And that is what they did. The incredible ruggedness of that body on frame, the overbuilt leaf springs, overbuilt transfer case, overbuilt differentials just made this thing beyond bulletproof. And the famous F series motor that's in it, low compression, 3.9 liter, very, very torquey. Again, robbed from General Motors for the most part, proved to be a terrific engine in terms of its reliability. And, you could put 600,000 miles on these things. Back at a time when that wasn't true of cars. I mean, in 1966, when this thing was built, pretty much every friggin' car wore out by the time it hit 100,000 miles. It just wasn't something like you see today where even a, little crappy Hyundai you can put 200, 250 on. That just wasn't the case. But with these FJs, you could. And again, that's really what entrenched Toyota. This white grill area, you see with the little lights, again, robbed from Jeep, that has become sort of the famous styling cue of these. And if you're familiar with the modern FJ Cruisers, which hearken to these FJ40s, they use a very, very similar front end treatment to remind people of that. And even if some of them are decent off-roaders, they're nothing like this. But anyway, so you see them running all over Australia, all over Africa, folding down the windows. They came up with different bodies, soft tops, hard tops, extended wheelbase, ambulances, military trucks, that sort of thing. And it really just established Toyota as a brand. Anyway, let's get into this. And I'll tell you what I see. When I'm looking at this one, this is sort of this unrestored 1966 old Toyota. Everything still works the way it was built back then, with very little change. I mean, these latches, they're very simple, but goddamn do they work easy the way they're supposed to. I pull this back. Back goes the spare. I lift this thing up, and it just all... Look at that. I'm not going to be able to do this. I can. I'm lucky. It just all works the way it's meant to. It all stayed together in a way that American cars built at the time, they were pretty good too. But, stuff just doesn't last like this. It really doesn't. Nothing is built to this level of nuts and bolts quality anymore. And it's a shame, and it's tragic, but at least it does give us an appreciation for vehicles like this one. Let's get that back in. Yeah, they don't just relatch, you have to do that yourself. You see this one has a nice little trailer hitch at the bottom. Anyway, nice old guy who owned this thing. He had it for many, many years. About 25 years ago, he bought it in Texas, and just been tooling it around ever since. You see this is the soft top version, which obviously that can be removed. This is probably a soft top that was an aftermarket many, many years ago and looks to be in pretty good shape now. Open up the soft door, you've got... not much for creature comforts, it must be said, but not bad either for what it is. By the time this FJ had come out, they had tried to modernize them a little bit and make them more palatable to people who wanted more stuff in their cars. In fact, some of the 50s versions actually had air conditioning, which was more or less unheard of at the time in a vehicle like this. You can see no carpet, nothing like that. You've got this full frame roll bar, roll cage that's very well built and solid in the back. I had thought these things came with a 2-bench seat on either side configuration, like the Land Rover. This one appears to have more of the American-style Jeep center seat, which I don't know is a modification or not. Probably not, the way it's built in there. And of course, that thing removes or flips forward for more cargo space. We also have some running boards to get up in this thing, and this fantastic, enormous, super thin steering wheel out of the 1930s. But, let's see if I can get my old, sad, tired body up into this thing without dying. And, oh my God. Okay. All right, we're sitting in there. Let me get this unzipped so you get a little bit of air. And pull this down. I don't have to say, I don't feel very safe in terms of impact or airbags or that sort of thing, so hopefully try not to hit anything. I don't know why I got in before I opened the damn hood. Oh, God. I did a double shot this morning. I hear that coronavirus thing is still going around, so very Jeep style. You've got these little releases at the front, which are very hard for my tired old hands to push down, but we'll get it. I love the patina on this thing, I really do. Alright, we're going to try to lift this up now and have a look under there. Okay, so here it is. Look at that big-ass 6-cylinder, inline. Very, very simple. Iron block and head. Again, basically stolen from a Chevrolet motor. And then this car, they took it and they ran it from like 1955 all the way through 92. So it's a testament of how good they copied this thing. The original ones had super low compression and crappy horsepower. But again, indestructible. And this F-155 version is no different. A lot of guys put small block Chevys in these things before they were collectible, which is a fine motor and very reliable in and of itself. But I think to be proper, one of these should have this big inline 6. It's just the motor of choice. This one probably converted to electronic ignition. I don't think that's something that would have come with in 1966. Is carbureted. Looks like it's got a Holly on there. And it's just so simple. It's such an exercise in simplicity, which makes it, of course, very reliable. See if I can get this back down one-handed. Probably not. I remember when I was a kid, I had a lot more tactile strength. Oh, Lord. And then when you put the window down, like Jeep style, you see it's got hinges there. It'll rest on these little guys, and then these things will clip it down. So you can get the bugs in your teeth. Actually, probably not. You're not really going to go fast enough to get bugs in your teeth. So, oh, this is nice. Okay, if I open this, and I don't know how I can do it. Let's see. There we go. This is what counts as air conditioning for the moment. So it's going to let air in there onto my tired, hot legs as I'm driving around. This diamond plate stuff in the back, I do believe that was actually original and has caused a tremendous amount of rust in the ones that were used up north. So if you see this diamond plate on these things, be careful that it's a bit of a southern vehicle like this one, because there might not be anything left behind it. All right, let's hop in. Much easier to do when I grab the bar, it turns out. All right, so a weird brake pedal down there, I have to say. It looks wide, like you'd see on an automatic. Interferes a little bit with the way I like to put my feet. Very simple, laid out instrument cluster. Hilariously goes to 100, which this won't. You do have a full set of gauges. Nice. I love these big chunky lights that it's got. Over here you've got here's your light controls. This, I don't know, some of the wipers, all this crap. I don't know what it is. These are more the important ones. This is your choke here, and this thing will run the transfer case. So if I want to go into 4-wheel drive, I think I got to pull this guy out. And then I'm going to move this lever. And I had it earlier where it was giving me a... Oh, for the love of God. All right, I'm not making, there it is. So when that comes on, you can go into your low ranges and your high and low on the transfer case and, you know, pull a stump out if you need to. But this is the way to drive around if you're just going to go out in the street. So that is with two-wheel drive and the transfer case and high. Great little ashtray there because God knows you want to keep your car neat. You can hose it out. And then the world's most enormous glove box. I mean, you're going to be able to fit, and that's again why the insurgents like these things. You could fit a whole severed human head in there if you wanted to. Save it for later so you could send it to the government representative came from, you know, writing your demands on a piece of paper you stapled to it. So very, very nice big glove box. Simple wipers that seem to be instructing my vision, so that's obstructing, which is probably why they're not supposed to be there, but maybe they are. I don't think that's something the Japanese would have done. And then a frameless mirror that reminds me of something out of an old Corvette. All right, now here was something interesting. This thing has a 3-speed manual, and it's 3 on the tree. Go find a average, you know, millennial and ask them what 3 on the tree is, and they'll look at you like you just showed them a rotary telephone. But anyways, it's got a manual gearbox that's connected to the column, and for the uninitiated, it's a little bit indecipherable. But first gear, I believe, is going to be all the way down. Got a lot of clutch travel. I'm going to stop, and I believe reverse is going to be up high like that. Very nice. And we're going to try to drive this thing one-handed, which, oh my God, without power steering. And with the 3 on the tree is going to be a bit of a pain, but we're going to try it anyway. And we got parking blocks going in, all the better to rip out front bumpers. Nice, nice, nice. I love going out blind. Oh boy, yeah, that's a big clutch travel. All right, so here, let me see if I can find second. Oh boy. I want to say second is up from there, it is. All right, so there's second gear. Very nice engagement, very proper. Looks like we might have a road blocked off here. Grooved pavement. Of course we do. Of course we have to go that way. All right, so back into first. That isn't first. Back. Making such a botch at this. All right, where do we go to first? All the way. There's first gear. All right. That is not first gear. That is second. Oh, for the love of God. You can see that I'm very well versed in running a Land Cruiser here. Okay, that's going to be first gear. Now we're getting somewhere. All right, there's second. Very nice. And here is third. Look at that. All right, so I'm starting to get this thing. It's been a long time. Forgive me, I don't remember the last time I drove something that was 3 on the friggin' tree. The ride is atrocious, horrible. It's a mixture of thuds on your spine and bouncing your head into the roll bar above. And again, that's part of the reason people like these things. Masochists. Let's go back and see if we can find first again. That was the problem, was getting all the way back down into first. No, that's still second. Where the hell is... Oh, for the love of God. All right. This in. There we go. Makes all the difference when you're not one-handed. It's got that nice, whirring, winding machinery sound like an old Japanese farm tractor that I find appealing. One of the few redeeming qualities of driving this thing. Steering is not what I would call laser precise. You do have to make a lot of corrections to keep it in the road. But I have to say, for a 1966 model in unrestored condition, it is pretty epic. You know, it doesn't feel like like something that's on its last legs. And that is a testament to the way they built these things. Nobody would build a product like this today. Nobody. It's just too, oh my God, it's just too, you know, it's not got that planned obsolescence feeling where you're gonna have to go and get it serviced and whatnot. They'll never make money off one of these if they built it like this. There it is. I have to say, I feel a little bit cool driving this thing like the Marlboro Man or Joe Camel or something. I want to let my facial hair grow a little more, hang a camel out my mouth, hang some fuel cans on the back, maybe a dead giraffe on the hood, a couple of native girls around me, and look coolly at the camera. Yeah, I get that. You know, top speed, it's not going to go very fast, and that's probably fine. This is really something that's more at home on a game preserve or a back trail. So anyway, there it is. This is going to be one of the shorter videos, which is fine. I mean, there really just isn't much I can say about this thing. They used to set the collector car market on fire, but that's settled down a little bit, particularly more as ones are being imported from the third world. But I like the idea of having a US model. I think that's kind of cool, and particularly an older one like this. But yeah, that's up to you. This one is from the website from Auto Europa. If you have an interest, give Marty a call. We're at aenaples.com, and I'll try to come up with something early next week to have fun with, see what we can do. So I'm going to go back now and dream about, you know, all the stuff that makes Japan great, your bukakis, your comfort women, your anime, your, you know, differentiating buses for young ladies and old men, and all the stuff that I enjoy. And if somebody could please explain the pixelation to me, that would be friggin' awesome. I'd appreciate it. Thanks very much for having a look. Take care, and we will see you with the next one.